Friends, welcome to another episode of Gyan Ganga, Words of Wisdom on the Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channel. As you all know, we are daily at 8 p.m. live on YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, and Instagram. And every day we have this talk show with Dr. Subramaniam Swami and our guests. We are going to be discussing about the Vedic culture outside India, and we will be having with us very shortly Dr. Budhendranath Dubey from Canada. He was originally from Guyana, and then he got educated in Jamaica, and then he became a doctor in London, and then settled down in Canada. And he is a trained cardiovascular surgeon and is doing great things for the Hindu cause or Vedic cause outside India, especially in Canada. He has established a Hindu temple and numerous other Hindu institutions in Canada, and he has also set up a Canada Museum of Indian Civilization in the Greater Toronto region of Canada. So basically, we want to tell you that there are a lot of people who are of Indian origin. They were not born in India, neither did they migrate, at least during their generation abroad, but it may be a few generations earlier, their parents had migrated from India, but they have been brought up in this Western culture and have done a lot for the Vedic culture abroad. It is same thing in Trinidad, where Dr. Swami last year went and addressed a Vedic International Conference. Same thing when Dr. Swami goes to New York, New Jersey, and all over America, Dallas, to the Hanuman Temple, that there are a lot of people of Indian origin who are practicing Vedic culture. In fact, some places it's unbelievable that they do mass chanting in the Hanuman Temple in Texas. So with this, I would request Dr. Swami, I will request Arvind Chaturvedi to raise some questions with Dr. Swami. Dr. Dubey will be joining us shortly. We have some technical issues. He'll be joining us shortly. Over to Dr. Arvind Chaturvedi. Arvind, your
switch off.
नमस्कार। विदेशों में वैदिक संस्कृति, ये हमारा आज का विषय है डॉक्टर स्वामी। इस विषय के दो मुख्य बिंदु हैं। एक मुख्य बिंदु है जो जगदीश शेट्टी जी ने अभी बताया कि अनेक वर्षों पहले भारत से प्रवासी मजदूरों के रूप में जो लोग गए थे, उन्होंने भारतीय सभ्यता को जनरेशंस के बाद, अनेक पीढ़ियों के बाद भी बचा के रखा हुआ है और उस संस्कृति को अपनाया हुआ है। विदेशों में वैदिक संस्कृति का जो दूसरा बिंदु है वो ये है कि पश्चिमी संस्कृति ने इतना तनाव लोगों की जिंदगी में पैदा किया है कि लोग अब शांति की ओर तलाश करने लगे हैं, शांति की तलाश में, और उनको लगता है कि भारतीय संस्कृति, सनातन संस्कृति, वैदिक संस्कृति एक शांति का माध्यम बन सकता है। यूरोप में, विशेषकर अमेरिका में, कई लोग भारतीय संस्कृति को, वैदिक संस्कृति को अपना रहे हैं। तो इन दोनों बिंदुओं से हम प्रस्थान करते हुए आज के विषय पे बहस करना चाहेंगे। आप अपने अनुभवों से बताएं, क्योंकि आपने लगभग पूरी दुनिया का भ्रमण किया हुआ है और सभी जगह की संस्कृति देखी हुई है। तो जो वैदिक संस्कृति का संरक्षण जो लोग कर रहे हैं, उनके बारे में हमारे दर्शकों को आज बताएं, जब तक हमारे मुख्य मेहमान हमारे शो में शामिल नहीं हो जाते।
This is a very important topic because we in Hinduism say what no other religion says, that Vasudeva Kutumbakam, Aham Nija Parveti Ganana Lagyu Chetasam Udar Charitanam Tucha Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So they say, don't think of these, this is mine and that is yours and all these petty things, Lagu Chetasam as it says. Think of the whole world as yours. And we are not saying the whole world is one, but we are saying the whole world is subject to Hindu.
Whole world is a family.
Yes, one family for Hindus.
Right.
Now, the topic given today has three important words, and they are equally important for Indians living in India to understand. First is Vedic, the word Vedic. What does it mean? I'm talking for the younger generation particularly because these are terms which are not being told to people. The second is the concept of culture. What's the difference between culture and religion? Culture and society. So what is the defining characteristic of culture? And third is, what's so special about outside that we should be worrying about it inside, so to speak? Why in India we should be bothered about Vedic culture outside? It's gone, it's gone. So these three important subjects, let me first say that we are very happy that this eminent doctor, originally from Guyana, now a Canadian, had agreed to come on our program. And since he's come from abroad and these terrible circumstances of the corona, it's not surprising that he has not been able to make it here on time. I'm hoping that he will make it in before we conclude. But Guyana, unlike Trinidad or Mauritius or even Fiji, is a place where the Hindus were tortured the most. You know that the Hindus were taken there from India by the British as bonded laborers. And they had to work 14 hours a day on the fields. When they asked the Britishers, their employers, that please let us celebrate some of our functions, our cultural festivals, they said, in your spare time, we will not give you any holidays. So they wanted to build a temple. So the Britishers said, no, you can't build a temple in Guyana. But there is a island there. So if you want, you go swimming there and build it there and come in your spare time or in your time. Okay. Now, over several years, these Indian laborers used to take turn by turn, swim across, catching, either keeping the stone in their head or keeping it under their teeth, depending on the size of it. And in the end, they built the temple. That is the devotion. They could easily convert it to Christianity. And there's a lot of pressure to do so from terms of getting better employment. But the Guyanese Hindus, even today, they're facing discrimination, and our government must do something to protect them. But they are steadfast Hindus, so therefore we should. Now, there are, of course, Hindus everywhere. Now they are all becoming more and more conscious with this Hindutva movement. Now Hindus are getting together as one instead of thinking of themselves as Bengali and Madrasi and Kannadigas and Telugus and so on. So therefore, I would say, if these people remain culturally with us and become Hindu, and they are spread today in perhaps, in about 120, 115, 120 countries of the world, and about 30 million Hindus are abroad. And while we need not expect them to disrespect their own country where they have adopted and become citizens and born, but this cultural links, enables us, like we know English. English is not Hindu, but still, because we know English, is very easy to move around in England and America and Canada and so on, these places. And many other countries where even if their mother tongue is not English, but they all know English. So the same way, if we have this, our connections with Hindus around the world, then it'll be very easy for us to play a major global role, because these Hindus will tell us the exact situation in the country and how to present our points of view and so on. Besides, of course, they also want us because they want materials. They want puja for puja. They want now. They are ready to fly them out. They are all now become well-to-do. So therefore, there is a lot of need for us to take Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam very seriously. Now, in fact, why Vedic culture in the title is that before I deal with the cultural aspects, let me say the word Vedic is the core of Hinduism. We have divided our spiritual literature into two parts. One we call as Shruti, which is God-given. Vedas, Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, Upanishads, Aranyakas, Brahmanas. These are classic texts which nobody can amend because these are communicated by God to the Maharishis, who originally kept it as an oral tradition. And now, of course, we are increasingly finding it in books. The other part of our religion is Smriti, means remembrance. There it is Shastras, it's sometimes called Shastras, marriages, behavior of father to son, mother to daughter, blah, blah, all these social interactions, everything. And as far as Shruti is concerned, it can never be amended. But as far as Smriti is concerned, the Shastras, they can be amended according to the age. It's explicit. So Manu Smriti was there. It was succeeded by Yajnavalkya. Then Mitakeshara. And now people say the Constitution of India is the new Shastra because it prescribes the code of behavior. So therefore, people say, oh, Manu Smriti, he said it was said like this. So what? We are not bound by it now. What Vedas says, yes, we are bound by.
Not only that, there was not one Manu, but there were several Manus. And every Manu had
That's another part of the controversy I won't get into. But they are Shastras, all of them. And they are amendable. And yes, it's true that some of the things that are circulated by our enemies of Hindus are not there in Manu Shastra. There's some other Manu they found out from somewhere else and passed it off. Therefore, this distinction has to be made clear that when you talk about Vedic Shastra, Vedic culture, you're talking about the core of Hinduism. And that core is being now increasingly practiced, particularly you see now foreigners that who are now, excuse me, I have, my computer started talking. So anyway, the issue is that therefore all of us should know. Of course, on the question of Varna system, Krishna has made it clear. It has got nothing to do with birth. It is your gunas, and according to gunas, you must choose your profession. So if you are a Jnani and Tyagi, then only you are considered the highest because you are a Tyagi and also a Jnani. And the king is a one step lower. He has to listen for policy decisions to the Jnani and the Tyagi and respect him also. Wash his feet if necessary. So similarly, those who make money, there's nothing wrong with making money or accumulating wealth. But your status in society will be decided by your philanthropy. Philanthropy was a great thing in our ancient India. Today we have forgotten it. America, they got philanthropy. That's why so many universities have come up, so many institutes, so many philharmonic, centers, so etc. So therefore, these concepts we have to find out which are permanent and tell the people abroad because they can't be on a daily basis like us Hindus here. Here everything comes, automatically. There it is a question of taking away time from the local culture of those who occupied that, conquered those areas, and our people went as workers. So slowly we are now, our people are getting richer, and so this is happening. Now, in our constitution, we are defined under Article 25 in the explanatory note that the word Hindu means someone who's not a Muslim, Christian, or a Parsi. Now, that means Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, Arya Samaji, Advaita. All these are Hindus, even though they have different ways of worshipping the deity that we Hindus all commonly accept. So Buddha, because we say Buddha was a Hindu and we consider him as an avatar. Sikhs, because the Sikhs themselves in their Granth, they speak about Rama, Krishna, and they were soldiers for India. For Hindus, protected them when the Hindus couldn't fight. In the same way, they fiercely fought and protected the Hindus. And the Buddhists, of course, slowly, because of Shankara, became more and more Hinduized. That's why we had Mahayana Buddhism. So I would say that when you say Hindu abroad, we should make it a point to see that the Buddhists and the Jains should be no problem at all. Buddhists, Jain, and the Sikhs. The Sikhs, of course, have been alienated thanks to Mrs. Gandhi and the Soviet Union, which created that Operation Blue Star. And there's a small unit of people who have alienated from India. But ultimately, the Sikhs are, even though they're 2% of the population, they're 20% of our army. So they have fought for us valiantly. Guru Gobind Singh fought for us. Guru Tegh Bahadur fought for us. Ranjit Singh went all the way and conquered Afghanistan. Zorawar Singh. So many people, the Sikhs, great valiant people. So therefore, we must now start looking ourselves when we talk about the Vedic, because Vedas are, respected by all these religions or Indic religions. So therefore, this is one thing I would like to emphasize. The second thing is, culture means what? It is our culture that God can be worshipped anywhere. But if you want God to see you, then you have to go to the temple where it has been constructed according to the Prana Pratishtha Puja, which I think our guest has come.
Yes. Yes, you continue, Dr. Swami.
Okay, I'll just finish up. I'm just giving you the background, then you can take over. So you can perhaps summarize, Arvind, for him what I've said. So therefore, we say all religions lead to God. Which does the Christianity say so? No. They say you're possessed by the devil if you don't agree to Jesus Christ. Does the Islam say so? No. They say there is our way, no other way. The Jews and the Hindus have had a number of dialogues in which I also participated with Swami Dayananda Saraswati. So we have come to a broad agreement. They only had one difference with us, and that was that you are polytheistic and we are monotheistic. We said no, Ishvara is only one. His manifestations are many. So we also believe in a single God. So the Hindus and the Buddhists in a get together in Israel decided that we have similar values and therefore we should work together in the religious thing. Only the Christians and the Muslims have this fundamental difference because they say my way or the highway. And that is something that Hindus will not accept. So that's Christian. But the most important thing about Hindus is the harmony between material prosperity, achieving material prosperity, and spiritual values. So this harmony is the key thing. Why today we can say proudly that Mahatma Gandhi had hardly wore any clothes. He just wore a langoti, and he was revered. The Americans, when I went as a student to get my PhD, and then later on as a professor there, the one question used to ask me, how can you follow Mahatma Gandhi, who is just wearing a loincloth, he's underdressed, half naked. How can you follow him? That is the Indian thing, where we don't elevate wealth or having wealth as the most important indicator of your position in society. It is your gyan, if your personal knowledge, you can impart knowledge, then you must remain, of course, without wealth and so on. People will give you donations and you can make your, you can work out your existence problems there. But this Jnani Tyagi concept, and a Kshatriya is only one, not born in a Kshatriya family, but one who decides that he's going to fight for the country. One who decides to produce the wealth. He is the he's the Vaishya. And the Sudra is the one who in agriculture produces the food. This scheduled caste thing was a temporary affair, unfortunately, because of variety of invasions and so on, who just became permanent. But Valmiki, the Valmikis themselves say we are scheduled caste. And he became a Maharishi, wrote Ramayana. Similarly, Vedavyasa's mother was a fisherwoman, but he also Maharishi. Kalidasa was used to cut the branches of trees, became Maharishi and a great poet. So Vishwamitra, the Rishi of Rishis, even the gods were afraid of him. He was born in a Kshatriya family. So therefore, this division of labor, or this decentralization of power, the power of knowledge, the power of weapons, the power of wealth, and the power of land. This decentralization was the Varna system, which unfortunately is another ossified thing which we must remove if we want Hindu unity. So, and then, we are going to discuss this in a separate thing. I think when Chandralekha and Lakshmi, perhaps, they are going to be debating with me. The gender equality embedded in Hinduism. You see the important portfolios of Brahma were distributed in Vishnu's cabinet. Education went to Saraswati, defense went to Durga, and finance went to Lakshmi. And male gods have got hardly anything. As somebody jokingly said, Narad Muni got information broadcasting, that's all. So that is the stage. Then you see Mahabharata, for one woman's, this shameless act that took place of disrobing Draupadi. A Mahabharata war had to take place. For Sita, a whole kingdom had to be uprooted. And of course, in the end, when after the coronation, he sent Sita away to the forest, he didn't send away. Ram never sent. If anybody has read either Valmiki or Tulsidas, you will know that it was Sita who insisted, saying that I've given you, because when Ram brought her from Ayodhya, he told her that, normally we give presents to the princess, the wife. But I'll give you one present. I will never look at another woman. You are the only one. And she said, I will see that when you become king, if there's one incident because of me for which you feel bad, I will go away and free you from that taint. So these are things where women, and there were women rishis, Gargi, so many. Even Mandara Mishra and Shankaracharya's debate was umpired by the wife of Mandara Mishra and declared him defeated. And he had to convert and become the Shringeri Shankaracharya. So this is another important aspect of, that's why we can have women prime ministers, women chief ministers, we can have screeching women, intelligent women, crooked women, or anyway, but women have equal access to power. This is another thing, I think. So to conclude, I'll say that today in the West, America, people are now beginning to write that we may be Christians, but in cultural matters, we are Hindus. There was a editor of Newsweek called Lisa Miller, who on 29th August 2009 wrote an article, editorial in Newsweek, and the headline was, "Now we are all Indian, and now we are all Hindus." And why, she says, he says, people are increasingly saying this is the sensible way to do it. Why should we bury people and then have to go and pay, call the Hindus cremate their people. China, after the communist rule, have also adopted cremation. Similarly, the question of how to look after your parents and so on. So she has given a number of instances which says that Americans are already internalized. Now American, company directors and so on, because of stress, they are taking to yoga, they are taking to the Krishna idea that you have only freedom to act. The result of your action, I will decide. That removes stress. So this way, the cultural values of Hinduism need to be taught much more than this, the complications of Advaita and Shaivitism and Vaishnavism and all this. We must regard ourselves as a Hindu, and that's why in VHS we have defined Hindutva to include the correct knowledge of our history, Sanskrit, learning Sanskrit, because learning Sanskrit will give you easy access to all this. And this is what I say. I am impressed by our Indians abroad, and particularly because of the Guyanians, because they have suffered enormous atrocities. Still, they have stayed steadfast as Hindus. And we should do the maximum to see that they feel at home when they come to India. So over to you, Jagdish, and perhaps you can invite our guests after introducing him, our eminent doctor from Canada, but originally from Guyana.
Thank you, Dr. Swami. Welcome, Dr. Dubey. We already introduced your profile to our guests, and I mentioned to them that you are from Guyana and settled now in Canada and doing great service for the Vedic religion in Canada and the surrounding areas. So, Arvind, if you want to just summarize, and then Dr. Dubey can start. Arvind, your mic.
Thank you, Dr. Dubey. Before you joined us, Dr. Subramanian Swami started the discussion on this topic, which is Vedic culture outside India. So he started with these 3 points. What is Vedic to begin with? He described what is Shruti and Smriti, and how we cannot amend Shruti, but we can amend Smriti. And then he talked about culture, and then he talked about what is being done outside India by different types of people, who went to different countries like Guyana, Mauritius, Fiji, and others long back as laborers, and they are still preserving the Indian culture or Vedic culture. And slowly, those Westerners who are having their life, they're finding their life miserable after the materialistic world, and they are looking for peace. So they are also slowly adopting to the Vedic culture. So this is what Dr. Swami has just mentioned, and he will be again asking questions once you have given your narrative. So on this topic, Vedic culture outside India, over to you, Dr. Dubey.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, very clear.
First of all, I would like to thank Prashar for arranging this. And I feel so honored to be in the same forum with Dr. Subramanian Swami, who I don't think I can, as they say, fit to tie the lacing of the shoes. So I'm very thankful for giving me this opportunity. to cut to the chase, I would like to say how we came to, how we preserved, as Dr. Swami mentioned, our religion in Guyana and then to Canada. My forefathers came to India 150 plus years ago. And when they came really as glorified slaves. They were called, but they were called indentured laborers.
Came to Guyana. You said came to India. You meant Guyana.
Came from India to Guyana. Sorry. Okay. Came to Guyana. Correct. And they came there because the slaves who were there before could not do the plantation work. When our forefathers came there, at Janmashtami night, they weren't allowed even to go to the temple. They had to hide and go at night and ring the bell. Because the white people wanted them to be converted. Not only that, if you want a job in the civil service, you have to become a Christian. If you want to teach, you have to become a Christian. That is why you see people like, you must have heard the name Sridhar Ramphal. They were Christians. His father was like a labor person, but his grandfather became a catechist. So when he became a catechist is like a priest in a church. He gets a house and he brings up his family, separate from these other of my forefathers who had to live in the what they call the very decadent type of residences. Be that as it may, many of them became Christians. So our forefathers stood up to it. About 10% of our people became Christians. But the rest of them, they were so proud of their religion. They were not educated in Sanskrit and knew the Sri Suktam and Purusha Suktam that we know about and Rudram that we do in our fathers. They had with them one Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana, and one Bhagavad Puran and Hanuman Chalisa. Hanumanji was the greatest Isht. Every Tuesday, every Saturday, people would have pujas at their home. My father was a Purohit. My father did not know to speak, did not know to write or read or write English. So because he was brought up in a typical Brahmin home, and his father was a Pandit from India, so he became a Pandit, like a Purohit in Guyana. And when I was 11 years old, my father told me that, look, you have to help me with these pujas, etc. So I started to do Panditai work and do Satyanarayana Katha, Ekada, Naimisharanya, Rishya, etc., etc. And so eventually we had Cherry Jagan. He came on board, and he was the one who caused what is known as adult suffrage. People got their votes, and Hinduism started to bloom. He had a minister. His name was Balram Singh Rai. I heard Dr. Swami talking about Kshatriya. He was a real Kshatriya. He made sure that you don't have to be converted to become a teacher. You don't have to be converted to Christianity to go to civil service. You don't have to be converted to Christian to become a policeman. And since then, Hinduism flourished and flourished and flourished in Guyana. And look, today, when we do Diwali, there are thousands and thousands of people, holy thousands and thousands of people. That is Guyana. There are other things, but I just want to, I don't know how much time I have, but then I came to Canada. When I came to Canada, it was in the 70s. If you wear a sari and go downtown, people will look at you as if you are a zombie or something like that. So I started to practice because I knew the Purohit work a little bit. I got my Guyanese people, and we practiced in a school twice, only on Sundays, just like Christians, only on Sundays. But what I did then, I established a television program since in the 70s to explain Hinduism with the limited knowledge that I have, to explain what Hinduism is, that we are not idol worshippers, we are not polytheistic, we believe in Brahman, etc., etc. And after that, people started as Hindus from Guyana, and they said we should do something. Then I took a very brave step, and we bought this very little house here in Richmond Hill, where we are. And then we collected money. We built a temple. When we built a temple, we celebrated Diwali in 1981 here. So we thought we will get about 1,000 people. We put a tent up. Diwali, as you know, is cold over here. And at that day, we had 10,000 people. We did not have enough washrooms. So what happened? Someone was serving tea free, and the temperature was -2 degrees centigrade. So what? Many of the guys who drank the tea, you know what they did? They had to urinate. We only had 4 toilets because we had 2 for ladies, 2 for men. So that day we had to convert all to ladies. So the gentlemen went and they did their business outside. Unfortunately, they removed our cars, etc. They were very upset because Richmond Hill, where this temple is a wasp town at that time, not anymore. It was a wasp town. And then the counselor said to me that he's going to get rid of us of this temple. So I told him, instead of you paying the lawyer's fees, I pay the lawyer's fees for you to sue our temple. Because when you sue our temple, we will get so much more money. We'll build a huge temple. At that time, they were afraid of me. This or whoever it was, they decided not to sue us. So we went and we extended the temple. When we extended the temple, they refused to give us permission. I said, to hell with you all. Sorry, that's a bad word to use. I said, you know what? I'm a surgeon. That is why these words come out of my mouth. So I said, you know what? We are going to build a temple. We built the temple without permission. For 10 years, we occupied the temple without what they call occupancy permits. But when we want to extend the temple to build a museum, Dr. Swami, for which you saw, we decided to build a museum because I wanted our young people to know what our great culture is. You see, when I went to, as a surgeon, I used to go in the operating room, I operate, and I will come out back in the lounge. And in the lounge, all sorts of doctors will be in the lounge. And there's a Catholic physician who knew a little bit about India, Hinduism. This is in the early 80s. He will say to me, oh, Dr. Dubey is coming. Let's bring a cow into the lounge because he knows about cows. So I said to him, Dr. Ryan, his name was Ryan. I said, Dr. Ryan, our people used to live in trees, but that's thousands of years ago. But you know how they used to get up in the trees? They used to use an elevator. So and I said, when our people were doing mathematics, when our people were doing physics, when our people were doing science, I said, have you heard of Sushruta? And the advances he made in sciences before the birth of Christ, when we had our university before the birth of Christ in Nalanda and all those places, your people were hunting with arrows and bows to get food to eat. So when you see me, you should bow down to me. So it is with that kind of fervor, that kind of ardor that I said, you know what, to hell with you guys. I am going to stick to what is ours. This is ours. Although I was not from India. My father was not from India. But as I felt that, I don't know whether it's genetic or what, but I felt this closeness to our Sanatan Dharma. And I decided no one is speaking about it in professional. As a professional, when I spoke about it, other people, they listened a little bit. And as a professional, as a surgeon, as a cardiovascular surgeon, when I spoke, we had fundraising events. Then we started celebrating Diwalis in huge hotels in downtown Toronto. We had huge parades. We had parades with 30,000 people downtown Toronto. And in the 80s and 90s, it is recorded in National Geographic. We had one elephant. We put one guy on top of the elephant, and we closed the whole street. The police had no time to look after us at that time because they thought we were hooligans. Because there were 30,000 of us, we marched down, we keep our meeting. You know what, one time, we couldn't get a counselor. A counselor is a person who represents the little ward that we're in, to come to our temple.
Yes.
Now, if you ask me what is the name of our counselor, I don't even know. Because we only get ministers and prime ministers to come to our temple now. So we don't bother with counselors and MPs anymore. And this is because we were independent. We stuck to what we did. And that is how, one time, they said bad things about Gandhi. Some people wanted to name a school after Mahatma Gandhi. And the chairman of the board of trustees says that Gandhi drank his own urine and slept with his niece, etc. And I went to the premier and I said, you know, this is wrong. You should this man should withdraw his remark. He said, oh, you know, I can't interfere. So I said, you know what? We're going to march against you. 10,000 of us. This is in the 80s. 10,000 people. We marched against the premier. And he then called me. He said, oh, you must call my secretary. I said, no. I would not call your secretary. Your secretary called me when you want to see me. They called me. We went to him. We brought the Gandhi statue. It was brought by the Senek family. We brought it and we installed it. And Dr. Swami, you saw our Gandhi statue when you came to the temple. And like that, we try to foster our dharma as much as possible. And it is, since we were the first temple that was built. And after that, other people started building. South Indians started to build, Gujarati started to build, Punjabi started to build. But our temple is such that every type of people come there. If you come to a temple, and Dr. Swami, you were at our temple is known as a hybrid temple. We have North Indian deities, we have South Indian deities. We have Balaji, we have Kartikeya, we have Ayyappa, we have all the northern deities like Durga Ma, etc. Because I thought Jalaram, because, you know, using my sense that, you know, when someone comes here, they must be happy. Not only that, we had one family, the Lodhia family. They put up a 51-foot Hanumanji statue. Dr. Swami, you saw that when you came.
Yes.
51-foot Hanumanji Murti, and to the cost of about 275,000 Canadian dollars. And up now, because of the lockdown, people can't come into the temple, but they go outside and they pray to Hanumanji. So with Hanumanji there, with our constant television program, with our youths being taught in Bal Vihar what their culture is, they know what Gita is, they do Gita Dhyanam, they do all these things. Our culture, I think, is richer than it was when I came. And I'm hoping, people are saying, oh, the young people don't come to the temple, but that's not so.
Right.
Make people feel that, oh, we are the only generation, and afterwards, Hinduism will die. Hinduism will never die. Right. And because I told them Hinduism is a scientific religion. Right. Other religions are afraid of science. We are not afraid of science. I said, any scientist can come, and they can, when they want to find what zero is, although the Arabs think that they got zero, and I told them, I said, you know, the Greeks have Neptune and Zeus. They knew this from India. When they were doing the spice trade, they heard about Shiva, they heard about Varuna, so they came here and they made their own thing. So I put my own spin to it. Whether it is so or not, I don't know, but it works. Okay. And if it works, and the religion is propagated, that's...
Really, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I think that's enough. Arvind, you want to say something?
Dr. Dubey, I have a question.
Sure.
We have seen your splendid work and your museum when we last came in November of 2018. I want to know a little bit of your experience or your knowledge of the other islands in the West Indies, about the Hindu culture there. What are your impressions about them, so that our viewers can know a little bit of the Hindu culture Hindu culture around those places or other places which you may have visited?
Sure. Suriname, which is Dutch Guyana, is beautifully preserved there. As a matter of fact, if 20 years ago you had gone to Paramaribo, if about 50 years you had gone to Paramaribo, you will think that you are in a gaon in India. The ladies dress the same way, the village is the same way, and the Hindi is beautiful, Bhojpuri Hindi. That is in Nikeri. Now you go to Suriname, Hindi is still preserved. And you know what the Nikeri people call themselves? Even Muslims. You know what they call themselves? I'm Hindustani. They don't say I'm a Muslim. They say I'm Hindustani. Christian Hindu says I'm Hindustani. Hindu says I'm Hindustani. Muslim, all Indians, they say I am Hindustani. And this is what is so beautiful about Suriname. Then you go to Trinidad. Trinidad, you have Hindu prime ministers like Basdev Pandey, we had Kamala Maharaj, etc. And they really preserved the religion. They really preserved the religion in a huge way. They had, is the only place where you have Mahasabha schools, Sanatan Dharam Mahasabha schools. Yes. Imagine, is still going on. And that was due to one man, his name was Bhanesh Sagan Maharaj. He established Mahasabha schools, and only Hindu teachers are there. Up to now.
Right.
Mauritius, I don't know about, but I'm hoping to go there one day. And but Barbados and so forth, not many. Jamaica had a few Hindus. I was a student in Jamaica, the University College of the West Indies, as a medical student. I used to keep puja there, and we built a temple there, a place called Halfway Tree. And that temple is still there, and the few Hindus who are there, their names are Blake and Williams, etc., etc. But they go there to the temple and they do their puja, etc.
Sure.
The other islands, not too much of Hinduism. So Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname, Guyana.
Very nice.
Yes. Arvind Chaturvedi. Dr. Dubey, again, this is Ramesh. Yes. Now, in Canada, I've seen the museum. It's a phenomenal thing. So, what was your primary motivation to build such a fantastic museum? And you've spent enough and so much of energy to bring the artifacts and into the store. So, can you just share a little bit of experience on that?
I wish I had better artifacts, but I'm hoping that I'll speak to Dr. Swami one day to see how best we can make it much more alluring for people to come. But lots of non-Indians come to visit the museum.
Yeah.
And lots of them, especially when they see the chakras and talk about Hinduism and the film that you saw. The film is a very philosophical film. And Dr. Swami alluded to the philosophy of our dharma and our culture. And what prompted me to build this was I saw, Swaminarayan, they have a museum always in their
at the temple sites.
I remember I saw it and I said, you know what, I would like to build I would like to have a museum that portrays Vedic culture. It must not be a sect as leading to one sect or another sect. It must be pure Vedic culture, not to talk about any individual. And that is what led me to build this. But I didn't have the money, or we didn't have the money to build something that I have in my mind. For example, I want to have a huge screen that talks about what the contribution of Hinduism to the world, to talk about Suspruta, to talk about zero, to talk about navigation, to talk about algebra, talk about geometry, talk about pi. Where did pi come from? Pi came from India. And had it not been for pi, curvatures could not be done. So all these things, there's so much to do in so little time. And if you don't have the wherewithal, of course, it becomes much more frustrating. But this is the reason why I let it, so our children can know it. Foreigners can come in and see it. A lot of Chinese come to see it, and Buddhists and so forth. And we want to do it in a much more elaborate manner, but hope with time, when we get more money and I speak to a few more people to see if we can do it better.
Sure. Dr. Dubey,
sir,
I love cricket.
Yes.
And I've seen West Indies perform in competition with India. The large number of West Indian cricketers who have Indian names.
Yeah.
Ram Naresh Sarwan, Sunil Narayan, Rohan Kanhai, Sunil Ambarish. And it's not only West Indies. I mean, if you go outside, let's say Mauritius, Fiji, you have Shiv Sagar, Ram Gulam. I mean, in these countries where Indian laborers had gone hundreds of years back, they still have Indian names. Is it because of love of Indian culture, or what exactly is the reason?
Well, what do you think? What kind of name do you think I have? My name is an Indian name too. Yeah. So these people came from India, as I said, 150 years ago. They made, those of them who maintained their culture, they kept their Hindu names. They all keep their Hindu names. What can happen is in between, their names can get Christianized. The first name, but the last name is still there, Ramphal. Although he's a Ramphal, is supposed to be what he calls Ramphal, and there's so many other cricketers. But when you talk about cricket, in the days when we had the real great cricketing heroes, India used to feel the brunt of the punishment. You know that?
Yes, quite right. I remember that in my
when we
days. Yes,
we had Griffith and Hall and Somers and Kanai and Solomon.
There's the bashes up.
Then India used to shake.
Yeah.
But now India can beat West Indies.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned cricket, when India goes to the West Indies, a lot of problems happen because all the Indians want India to win, and all the black people want West Indies to win, and there are big fights in the pavilion. I mean, real fights, fist fights, because the Indians feel that it is our country. They have that love.
Yes, correct.
They have that fire for India. And when I'm a surgeon and we have our events and dinner, etc., I'm a vegetarian. All the Indians who are from India, who are surgeons, they eat everything. They say to me, I am from India and I eat everything. Why you're from Guyana? How come you're a vegetarian, you're a Hindu, you have your upline? How come? I said, you may be from India. Unfortunately, you don't carry the Indianism in you. You have come, as what Dr. Swami has just mentioned, you see the high life and they got a car, etc. You feel you're no longer Indians. You're left it behind. It's a pity. But quite a few of the Indians, doctors from India now, most are coming to the temple, and the temple has done not this temple only, all of the temples have done a lot for Hinduism in Canada, North America, India, etc.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dubey. Jagdish, do you want to close?
What about the food habits, Dr. Dubey? I mean, when we say Vedic culture, food is also part of the culture. Do we have the traditional Indian food or some connection with the Indian style of cooking?
Yeah. You know, before you offer the food, you know, it says, Om Pranaya Swaha, Om Apanaya Swaha, Om. You know that? I explained it to the people. And we eat the same dal and rice and roti and aloo. I eat not only, I do not eat with a spoon and a fork. I eat with my fingers. Because as Swami Chinmayananda says, a Hindu must smell the food, taste the food, and feel the food. Yeah. And when you feel the food, then you know what it is you eat. But I'm not saying that all are, they have gotten to the pizza, and some of them, quite a few of them eat chicken and meat, etc. But most Hindus in Guyana would eat fish, but they would not eat beef and pork, etc. They would not eat beef and pork. Even those who have been converted, they still would not eat beef.
Right.
But the food habits are the same.
Yeah. Dr. Do you have anything else do you want to conclude, Dr. Swami? Anything in concluding remarks?
No, well, we are all very proud of, because Guyana faced enormous, exploitation and so on, as he himself pointed out. But they stuck it out, and it's in a sense, people when they ask me, how is it that Islam conquered Iran and Mesopotamia and Egypt and converted all of them to 100% Muslim, but couldn't do in India anything like that. Correct. So I said that's the Hindu, when he's a passive man in normal times, but you provoke him, then he will fight to the finish. And so this Guyana spirit is that Hindu spirit, you see, that we can't be put upon. The Indians defeated Mrs. Gandhi in the emergency. People said they are all illiterates. What will they understand about democracy? But they did. And they voted her out. In fact, the more educated parts of India voted for Mrs. Gandhi, like South India. But it is the North Indian illiterate who defeated Mrs. Gandhi. So that's the Hindu spirit.
Jagdish, you want to close?
Yes. So thank you, Dr. Dubey and Dr. Swami, for that very interesting discussion on the Vedic culture outside India. It really makes us feel proud of people like Dr. Dubey, who have really done a wonderful job in Canada. In fact, the museum in the Greater Toronto region is worth visiting. In fact, I feel that we should have similar museums all over India to showcase our great culture, because we all say we are proud Indians, but we ourselves do not know about our heritage. And Dr. Dubey has done a wonderful thing there. It's worth going and seeing that thing and replicating it other parts of India.
May I say something?
Yes, sir.
Our temple is not just a Hindu temple. We are a temple. We are an institution. We teach children. We teach yoga. We teach dance, art.
Yes, that's the real.
We have a home.
And you also have
you also have a senior home for.
So senior citizens, you have a home also for senior citizens.
Correct. It's not a puja place, as Dr. Swami was talking about. Over here, temples can't be puja. Temples have to be the hub, the hub of our culture.
Correct.
And we are trying to see that we can make this a hub of Hindu culture. There is no such thing like Indian culture. It's all Hindu culture. This nonsense about Hindu culture. I should not be talking all this. Dr. Swami talks about this himself.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. In fact, overseas people like you, in difficult circumstances, have kept the Hindu and Vedic flag flying high. In fact, Dr. Swami and myself had an opportunity to visit Trinidad for a Vedic conference, and we saw the people. Although some of them had new Christian names, but all of them took proud privilege to identify themselves with their original surname, and they had not even dropped that original name in their entire.
Correct.
Ministers. We met some ex-prime ministers and a lot of other people who had all clear linkage or their ancestors, who were their ancestors. In fact, even more than.
Yeah. But both prime ministers of Trinidad, Indian prime ministers, they're all Hindus.
Yes.
And they all have proper Hindu name. Basdev is supposed to be Basudev. Basdev Pandey, Kamala Maharaj, and they are Hindus.
Yes. Thank you. So with that, we end our interesting topic, which makes all our people in India and abroad proud of our Vedic culture outside India. Tomorrow we'll be back at 8 p.m. for another episode of Words of Wisdom, Gyan Ganga, on our favorite Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channel. Tomorrow's discussion is how women have shaped India and played significant role and in the future, and about women empowerment. Our guest, as usual, will be Dr. Swami, and we'll be having two other enterprising women, Miss V.S. Chandralekha, ex-IAS officer from Tamil Nadu, and Lakshmi Bai Nalapat, the former princess from Travancore family. So tomorrow, do watch out at 8 p.m. Indian time for another interesting episode of Gyan Ganga Words of Wisdom. Dhanyavad. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Namaskar.
Thank you.